please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Vishal Sikka has resigned as MD and CEO of Infosys.
This is extremely big news for the stock. Even for corporate India, not a very fortunate day at all that things should come to this breaking point.
This is the story that we broke right here on CNBC TV-18 when we first reported that there were serious differences between the former promoters as well as the current board of Infosys.
I want to say thanks for last 3 years of really wonderful support from all of you.
In October of 2014, when I first said that, it was an aspiration to help the company, look at something that we can all get excited about. How the board decides to link my compensation to different targets is up to them. This is not something that I worry about.
No, I'm very surprised that you have resigned, but I thought it will happen sometime later because it is not working out.
I think it's very good for the company because now the distraction had become a very personal war of attrition between the CEO and the ex-founders.
There have been this continuous drumbeat of these allegations and news stories and the same stuff about Rajiv's separation and Panaya and all of this stuff over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, it is absolutely sickening.
Infosys is clearly the big story and the big development of the day, and the stock has plummeted over 10% as we speak. Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar, and with me is my co-anchor Mangalam Malu. We'll take you through all the action. First to the top headlines at this hour. Market reels under pressure from the Infosys casualty. IT and banking stocks exert pressure, and mid-cap index falls in line with the frontliners.
Infosys, under the shadow of year-long promoter management conflict, Vishal Sikka resigned as the company's top boss, says continuous drumbeat of allegations in the past few quarters have been sickening and made it difficult for him to create value in the company.
N.R. Narayan Murthy refutes reports of a return to the helm of the IT bellwether. Tells CNBC TV-18 his only desire is to see improved board governance.
The Infosys board lashes out at the founder, says Narayan Murthy's letter is the primary reason for Vishal Sikka to resign, says the letter contains factual inaccuracies and already disproved rumors, adds that Murthy's campaign against the board and the company has had this unfortunate effect.
Ahead of the Infosys buyback, brokerages turn negative on the stock. Nomura says turnaround hopes will see a pushback till new CEO is appointed.
All right, that's as far as Infosys is concerned and the other stocks, but take a look at the market's 90-point cut on the Nifty. At the same time, the mid-caps underperforming. Anuj, 90-point cut on the Nifty, 55 of that could be given to Infosys. But what's causing the weakness in the mid-cap space as well as the others as well?
Yeah, Mangalam, on days like this, you always get a second dip.
Right.
First dip is always bought, and second dip is always the real test of the market. And I think post 130 would be the actual test of this market because, you have now breached the first hour low. When you breach the first hour low, the possibility of a trend day increases. And I don't think the market needed Infosys news because, what Infosys has done today is that it's taken out at least one support bid for the market which was there. Yesterday, Infosys actually ended 4% higher, had 800 crores of delivery buying. That trigger was taken out. Bank Nifty anyway was underperforming from yesterday after that weekly expiry. So that clearly was the other pressure point. And I think on the mid caps, what might be hurting right now is once again the same leverage positions coming back over the last 4 days. You saw mid-cap index recovering sharply from its earlier losses. I think that's under pressure. So right now, what you have for this market is that only a select stock like TCS, Tech Mahindra, basically the non-Infosys IT pack, that's doing well. That's the only pack which stands out. Otherwise, other stocks are really struggling. And, let's see. This market now has a risk of making a bit of a 20-day moving average halt on the upside. Will be interesting to see if the low of 9650, 9700, if at all we go there, by the way, is held on to, because that now becomes the next reference point to watch out for.
Oh, of course, Anuj, but the big contribution coming in from the kind of impact that Infosys stock has done today is very important market. In fact, when the con call started at 11:30 a.m., at that point, Infosys stock was down almost 7%, close to 7%, and it has slipped further. It is a loss of market cap of over 22,000 crore rupees in a single day. So whatever clarity the management gave in the con call, at least as of now, has not gone down well with the market.
No, look, I mean, there's no clarification has to come from Murthy. It's as simple as that, Nisha, because, this clearly is a board which is saying that Murthy's letter is the reason that you have seen this kind of decline. I said it in the morning as well, that it could be a long day for Infosys, because, what has really gone against Infosys is that just before all of this happened, you had a buyback announcement and the stock rallied 4% ahead of that. And a lot of people actually built positions in Infosys, bought into Infosys. Not only those positions have been unwound, but even some of the long-term Infosys shareholders have also, bailed out. The importance of a CEO in a company like Infosys cannot be overemphasized. It's a company, or it's a business in which people are your only asset. I don't say that, the most important asset. People are your only asset. And in that case, when something like this happens, Infosys was going through a process where it was reversing the underperformance of 5 years. Yes, I agree that last 6 months were not good for Infosys also, but before that you had seen a bit of a reversal for Infosys. Now what has happened is that Infosys, before Vishal Sikka came on board, had derated to 12 to 13 times price to earnings, which was its historic low as well. Ever since Vishal Sikka came on board, the Infosys managed to bridge the gap between itself and TCS. It went up to 16, 17 times its 1 year forward earning. Now the big risk and the big question that we are also asking is that, does Infosys derate further? I think that really is the key. And then the kind of delivery selling that you will see in Infosys today, it would be highest in the trading history of the company. Let me put it this way, because as of now, if you look at the overall volumes of Infosys, we have traded 5,000 crores of volume on Infosys. Let's assume that half of this is marked for delivery. It could be more actually. In that case, we're looking at delivery-based selling of 2,500 crores, something which Infosys stock has not seen. And I tell you something, it's not looking good. And the 52-week low for the stock has been 896, 900 thereabout. I won't be surprised if that gets breached. Maybe in today's trade, if not in today's trade, maybe over the next couple of days, you will have downgrades from the brokerages as well. This evening, ADR will react negatively. So right now, look at the F&O positions, almost 1 crore shares getting added in open interest. So at some point, of course, Infosys will bottom out, and with hindsight, maybe you'll know that that was a good time. But as of now, no.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for that, Anuj. And this is indeed the big story of the day. Vishal Sikka's resignation as the Infosys CEO, and lots more things to happen. 11:30 was the con call. A lot of comments have already come in at 2 p.m. The management is also going to speak to the journalists. Shireen Bhan is joining us to put all that into perspective. Shireen, good to have you on Business Lunch. Now, of course, corporate governance issues plague yet another company, and this one is a big one.
Well, it certainly is a big one, and I'll tell you why the markets are reacting in the manner in which they are when it comes to the Infosys stock post that investor conference call, the analyst conference call that the company held, and that is because there continues to be no clarity on what happens from here on. Vishal Sikka's exit doesn't end the problem, but as Suresh Senapati, the former CFO of Wipro, just told me, it actually exacerbates the problem, because what you now have is a situation where Sikka is out. You don't know when you're going to be able to get a successor in, who that successor will be. An external candidate is going to think doubly hard before entering these vitiated waters at this point in time. It is going to be a difficult terrain to negotiate. Ravi Venkatesan, the co-chairman, acknowledging that things have not gotten better with founders, that they've engaged in conversations, but there has been no headway. So Sikka's resignation is not the answer to the problems that have persisted for several months now at Infosys. Also, do remember that the board unanimously and unequivocally backing Vishal Sikka. And in its letter, which is a very unusual letter that has come in from the Infosys board, stating very clearly that it is Mr. N.R. Narayanamurthy's letter which has led to Vishal Sikka's resignation. So if the Sikka camp was talking about a personalized campaign, about malicious allegations being made over and over again, well, then today the Infosys board has made this a personalized response, saying that it is N.R. Narayanamurthy's letter that is responsible for Vishal Sikka's exit. So my suspicion is that the response from here on is also going to be very, very severe. Now, this leads us to several questions. One, whether there is going to be any kind of reconfiguration of the board of Infosys. Remember, the founders have raised concerns about corporate governance, about board governance in specific. That has been the #1 issue that Mr. Murthy and the other co-founders have put on the table. You did not have Mr. R. Seshasai on the call today. Co-chairman Ravi Venkateshan was on the call along with Praveen Rao, Vishal Sikka, and the CFO Ranganathan. So what happens to the chairman position? What happens to Mr. Seshasai's tenure? Is there a question mark there or not? That needs to be answered. What happens now to the strategy that's been put in place by Vishal Sikka? While Ravi Venkateshan made it clear that the board stands by that strategy, that strategy has now been institutionalized, but whether it will continue to have the same momentum as it did under the architect of that strategy, which was Vishal Sikka, is going to be the question. And the more important question really is, who is going to take this company forward, and how do you find a mechanism to be able to open lines of communication, establish trust with the founders and the current board? Because there seems to be a complete breakdown of relations between the founders and the current board. This is not just about Vishal Sikka. It is about the board of Infosys and how the founders have raised concerns. So how do you actually bridge the deficit between the board and the promoters or founders of Infosys is the question. So because there are several unanswered questions and we've actually entered a territory of even more uncertainty, that is perhaps why you're seeing that reaction on the stock. But we'll be tracking this story. One last point, Ravi Venkateshan saying that the board of Infosys has decided not to invite Mr. Murthy to participate in any formal governance role. Remember, I did reach out to Mr. Murthy last Friday and asked him if there was any possibility of him returning to the company. Mr. Murthy telling me very clearly that no, it was not his intention to return to Infosys. All his intention was to bring about improvement in board governance. With that, I hand it back to you guys.
Absolutely, Shireen. Thanks a lot for that. The pertinent points that you're raising is